Okay. I think we've been given the thumbs up, so I think we're ready to call the meeting to order. Anybody have any changes or additions to the agenda? I thought we would throw on the Enchant Park Sand request, if that's okay with everybody.
Yep, that's a good idea.
Anybody else have any proposed changes to the agenda?
I can accept the agenda as presented.
Okay, just a sec. I guess we'll put that, Candace, under request for decision on bylaw. Okay, Murray's given us a motion to, got lots of feedback coming here today. Motion to accept the agenda. All in favor, just go ahead and tell me if you're in favor.
In favor.
In favor.
In favor.
In favor. In favor.
Okay. Carried. Is that Levitt? Did Levitt make it on?
Yeah, I'm here.
He just sent me a text a little while ago saying he might be late. Okay, protocol items. Anybody have any announcements or recognition for this morning? Hearing none, we'll move on to the minutes of May 12th, 2020, regular council meeting of council. Any corrections or amendments to the minutes?
I can move those minutes as presented.
Okay, all in favor, just go ahead and tell me.
In favor.
In favor.
In favor.
In favor.
Okay, carried. Thank you. Okay, public engagement process. Is there anybody online that would like to speak or address council?
None.
Hearing none, we'll move on. Declarations of conflict. Does anybody have any conflict with anything that's in the agenda today? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda CAO report. Arliss?
Yeah, thanks, Reeve Harris. With regard to the CAO report, excuse me. I'm open to any particular questions from council. I think of particular import, we have included some project updates in the CAO report this time, and project manager Jack Dunsmore is online with us today in case there are any questions in that regard. So I just wanted to point that out specifically as well.
Anybody have any questions for Arliss on his report, or any of the department reports are included in the CAO report? I just, excuse me, have a couple. Is Jason Bullock online?
Yep.
Jason, my first question is for you. And the chemicals and whatnot that you've put down over the fall and perhaps this spring to control downy brome, how is that being, what kind of results are you seeing with that, those chemical applications?
I was out the other day looking at the area where we sprayed last fall. I'm not so happy for last fall's work or rate that we got out of it. And this spring that we put down has done a pretty good job with the control of downy brome. I presume that the number of you as councillors have been getting phone calls. I've been getting a pile of them here the last 2 weeks now that downy brome's starting to show up and starting to turn its purplish, easy identifiable colors. So anyways, we will continue to monitor and see how that holds up throughout the season, but we'll do some more. The thing is, the catch with this chemical, you have to spray it on early spring or late fall with moisture right behind it. So trying to get those combinations to work for you are sometimes tricky.
Okay. And my next question would be for Stu. Two questions. First is, how is the Super Bee trailer combination that we purchased a year or so ago working out as far as efficiencies and whatnot? And the second one is regarding gravel crushing, whether we're on 2 crews, and what does it looking like for stockpile of gravel? Are we keeping up? Are we going to be able to keep ahead of the amount of gravel going out to fix and repair roads?
So to address your first one there, Merrill, the Super Bee, so far it's been working okay, or it's been working good. I haven't noticed a lot of efficiency on it yet, just because our crews have been jumping around so much this spring, filling in the soft spots and boils and whatever. We haven't been focusing solely on just graveling. I'm hoping next week we can really get the push on the gravel going again. But it has been, when it's been out, it's been working good. We're getting most of the bugs worked out of it. I think in this application it should work fairly well. To speak to gravel crushing, we have a very good stockpile in front of us as it is. The guys are doing a good job crushing. Everything's running according to schedule. We're running 1 crew at the moment, but given how much we have in inventory right now, the 1 crew will be all we need for this for the next couple years while we work through some of the inventory and everything. They're keeping up with everything, so so far everything's been going good on that regard as well.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any questions for either Arliss or any of the directors on their reports? Okay.
Well, welcome back, Jack. I just was wondering, when I look at the projects, are you feeling, based on where we're at weather-wise as of today, that the current projects are going to be accomplishable in this season?
Probably give you a better answer for start of next week. We have 2 tender openings tomorrow. Let's see, the Township 8 Range 16 in the Vauxhall Rest area, and then Friday we have the King Arthur Resort Road tender opening. I think we'll be fine. All the tenders have October 31st deadlines. The one at Enchant is pretty wet. They're having trouble with the dirt. It's pretty wet, so they're gonna need some heat and some wind up there. But I think we'll be fine.
Thank you.
Just wondering, Murray here, in the Hamlet of Enchant, the bog hole you guys fixed prior of the spring here and graveled it. Well, just to the north of that, the road is very close to start breaking away between where you just fixed and where we fixed last year. And then just kind of wondering about them two holes, the one right on Center Street in front of the school, and the one on the south side of the school. If them are going to get fixed this year, the runoff from the schoolyard on the south side of the school has got water in that one there. I know it doesn't drain very well. I'm not sure what a guy should do with that, but just a question.
So yeah, so I did notice as well when we were digging that one out in Enchant that it would be nice, truth be told, that pretty well that entire entrance road is going to need some attention sooner than later. Between the cut we did this time and the last one that was done, I would have liked to have cut it all out. I was trying to get the road open, so that was kind of where we stopped with what we did there. But as far as the other one over by the school is concerned, I had Graham go out and survey that, part of the schoolyard there to see if there's any way we can get that water to come across before we finish that patching. It is planned to do that patching this year. But if we can adjust the swale or figure out something, maybe put a couple loads of material into that ditch to try to get the drainage to come across instead of sit in the schoolyard, I would rather do that before we pave it and then end up ripping it up so that we can do that drainage anyway. So that's kind of my plan over there. I just had the survey done last week and I have a report here come in yesterday. So I haven't had a chance to go through it all yet, but that's the plan in a nutshell.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on the CAO report or the departmental reports? I just asked Arlos a question. He just had to step out for a minute. One of the questions he posed to me the other day was on the Reliance drainage study and the fact that we need to kind of clearly outline what the working area for that study is. And that's where he's gone right now, just to get a map on that Reliance drainage study. So I'm guessing that probably, John, this is mostly in your area. When he gets back, maybe we can have a quick discussion on the area of the Reliance drainage study.
Yeah, that would be good. Also, I was going to ask Jack how much of the information that Alberta Transportation provided with their drainage study for the twinning of Highway 3 was useful or will be useful when we start our drainage study.
It'll all be useful, John. There's a lot of information in that binder. What I'm kind of looking at as a proposed area for that would be 16.5 road, which is south of the co-op. Goes straight south and goes down. We have to go a little bit south of 9-4 road to pick that up. That's where some water from there goes south, some will go north. And then there's no sense going any further than east of town by the Purple Hill, because that's where it also breaks and heads off toward the highway. And really, there's only a couple of real bad spots north of Highway 3. I think if we concentrate Highway 3 south in that block, I think you're going to catch the majority of the issues that we've been dealing with in the past.
Yeah, I would think you're right there, Jack. And I'm sure the bottleneck, as we all know, is going to be the railroad tracks and Highway 3 when we're moving the water from the south to the north.
Yes, there will be some issues along there. They did work on some of it in 2018. But Stantec, when they did the Highway 3 twinning study, they did I would call it a fairly low-level drainage study. So I'm not sure how far they went in. They did ask us a little bit about it. So I think we helped them out a little bit, but Transportation didn't want to spend a whole lot of money doing it. So we'll be able to use some of that information. And then again, it'll depend on who we hire as a consultant for that work, if that information's available or not. The other one that I talked to Arlos a bit about it, and that we went to 16.5 Range Road south of Tabor, because that also includes where the town had their issues with their water plant in 18. It'll include that area, which is, to me, it's not really a big, hard fix to get that cleaned up.
No, I would agree with that area. It sounds like about the right, area to be including in this study.
Okay, I think I talked to Arlos a bit, and we'll try to get something together and get it out to the council members. And then without having a defined scope area, it's pretty hard to get a consultant to give us a price on it.
Okay, so I think you've got your outline of area that you plan to put into that study is outlined well enough now?
And that's something we can confirm by just sending an email out to council with the map.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions at all for Arliss or any of the directors on the report? All right, hearing none, we'll move on then to accounts for payments, batch 23124, 23136, 23148. Any questions on any of the checks that have been paid?
Yes, I got one on this page we're on right now, check number 54454 to Mitchell 1. Just wondering what that amount is there for. Just seems like an odd one to me, that's all.
Okay, Brian.
Brian Bader is just looking it up right now.
Yeah, I don't have the detail in front of me for what that check is, again, unless one of the directors knows what we purchased for Mitchell 1. But I will definitely find out and send it out.
All right. Any further questions on any of those payments? Hearing none, we will move on to operating financial statements. Brian.
On the operating financial statement for April 2020, I don't have anything to point out, so if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Brian on the operating financial statement? Looks like year over year, Brian, we're 2020 versus 2019, we're pretty close to the same place we were a year ago.
So we're about net difference about 268,000, I guess, to the good. Our operating deficit so far until we levy taxes is about $268,000 less. And that's also taking into account a significant amount of less revenue from oil leases that have come in so far. We've had about $195,000 less revenue. So we're seeing we're on budget with expenditures, but there are some revenues that aren't quite as much as they were in previous years.
Any questions for Brian at all? All right, we'll move on to the capital transaction report. Brian?
And again, compared to last year, we're a little bit behind on our capital purchases. However, we just took delivery of we took delivery of a new road grader. So we're still in the midst of making capital purchases and starting our capital construction for the year.
Could I, just returning, I guess this is under the agenda item of the CAO report. But could I just put on the screen, an actual map of that Reliance drainage area? That way we can actually look at it now and deal with it now. Would that be all right with council?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay.
That's fine.
Jack, would you be able to provide some explanation as you see it?
Sure, everything inside of that blue highlighter there pretty much runs northeast. And it'll go up to the highway, cross the highway, and either go into Tabor Lake, Fincastle Lake. There is a couple of spots up there north of Highway 3 that are continual trouble spots that I've circled. But I don't think that would be worth our while putting that in the overall study. I think that's something we could actually deal with locally. That seems to be the areas where we've had the biggest issues in the last 30 floods we've had over the last 10 years.
So the line, from the line south, does that drain back to Horsefly, or where does that go, Jack?
A lot of that will drain south to Horsefly, and some of that will drain east to the, there's a drain ditch there. John, does that look about the area you're considering you want to look at?
That looks like exactly the area that I've seen, I guess, the most problems in since our family's been here anyway. That would be a very good area to provide a study information on.
We do have another person on the Zoom today, Brian Badura. Does that look about right, Brian? You lived in that area most of your life. Does that look about the right area on your area there? Oh, I guess he's not going to answer. I think that's pretty much got it covered. And if it isn't, if that line on the bottom has to go a little further south, then what will happen is the engineers will pick that up when they do the contour study.
I think there are some areas that you have highlighted there where the blue line is, that some of it does come from farther south and runs north.
Okay.
But there's just a very, very small area where that takes place.
Yeah, and as long as we can give the consultant a rough area to look at, it's called LIDAR survey, that it's all on contours where the water will run. They'll pick that up pretty quickly.
I definitely think you've captured what needs to be looked at for sure, Jack.
Okay.
So that's just going out to tender then, or Jack, or for somebody to do that study?
Well, I'm going to talk to one consultant and get them to give me an approximate price on it. And if it goes over the threshold of what we have to put it out to tender for request for proposal, we'll have to do that. There's only certain consultants that, in my mind, that you want to work on this. And if we can work it within the budget, within the amount of dollars we have to spend, and stay within the guidelines we have to follow, I would much sooner do it that way. Then you know what you're working with.
Okay.
And if not, we'll have, if it's over the threshold, we have to put it out for request for proposal for engineering firms.
Okay.
I'm hoping to get that within the next week, get that started, get that going.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
You bet.
I got a question on the study too. So this area where the flooding is, has it all been quite a bit to do with like just the way the lay of the land, or has there been any man-made like sculpting of the land to intensify some drainage areas too? Or is it more or less just the way the lay of the land, not so much how people have worked their land to get proper drainage to use every acre of their field?
I think it's the same all over the MD of Tabor-Levitt. It's a combination of both. It's a combination of people doing leveling, draining lands, approaches. There's some of the area directly east of Tabor there for the first, 3 miles or so is pretty highly populated. There's quite a few quite a few approaches. And those all have to be looked at, but there's definitely been drainage done that's been not approved. And that's the same throughout the whole MD of Tabor. It's just something we have to work with.
Okay, so then in things like that, to do a study, is there anything environmental approval then because things have been changed? Is it we run into problems that way, or is it go somewhat smoothly if everyone agrees to what's going on?
Again, a little bit of both. There's been some in there in the past that I have reported to Alberta Environment for doing unauthorized drainage that have caused trouble downstream. And some of that is like hitting your head against the wall. It's more of trying to get the people all inside like we did in Township 816, get the ratepayers to agree to what we were doing and work with us. It can be a complicated system.
Okay, any other questions for Jack or Arlos on the study?
I'd like to add a comment on kind of clarify what Levitt has brought up there, in the fact that a lot of this land in this area, especially east of Tabor, was machine leveled back in the 50s. So it was meant to take one or two streams of water and flow at a fairly slow rate. So when you get a 4 or 5 inch downpour on all this land, it really it comes off quite fast. And that there also has been some other work done, but the lion's share of it is from machine leveled land from back in the 50s, and that's where a lot of the problems come from. And the population and the amount of acreages and stuff we have and yards we have in the area, like Jack said, definitely add to the problem with all the approaches. I mean, some of these approach culverts are over 100 feet long, which is and right now it's actually a benefit to have that. Otherwise, we'd have trouble downstream from that.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. On your chat box, if everyone's seen it, they've got an explanation who Mitchell 1 is and what that is for. It's a subscription to software called ShopKey, and it provides the mechanics and the automotive, provides us with heavy-duty and automotive diagnostic wiring diagrams and repair manuals. So thank you to Ryan and Stuart for clarifying what that check was for. So we were at the capital transaction report, and I think we've accepted that. Bank reconciliation, Brian?
Okay, and I can quickly go through the bank reconciliation. At April 30th, 2020, we started the month with $19,991,031. Receipts for the month, during this time of the year, usually receipts are quite low unless we receive grant revenues. Receipts of $378,260 and disbursements of $2,074,399. Leaves us with a balance of $18,294,892.
Okay. So at the end of the month of April, you had $18,294,892 in the bank.
Yes.
And then down at the bottom, you got term deposits. Isn't normally that's number down there in the bottom or something similar to that number there under term deposits?
What we did was something a little different. We normally put cash flow, the additional excess funds and cash flow term deposits. However, the bank account earns interest of it's prime minus a certain amount, and it was very similar to the amount term deposits earn. So even though the money's in the bank account, it's still earning the same interest as it would be earning in term deposits.
Okay.
those amounts in term deposits are just a small amount that got left in other term deposit investments,
Okay,
demand accounts.
all right. Anybody have any questions for Brian on the bank reconciliation form? Next is Counselor earnings summary in April. Any questions? All right. Is there any more questions at all on the consent agenda? Anything that was inside the consent agenda? Oh, I guess we got correspondence here, Leah. Not ready to move on yet, eh? All right, we got a letter from the golf course in your packet thanking us for the $25,000 donation for their lawnmowers. A letter from Minister Madu regarding our MSI allocation for the year, both the capital allocation and the operating allocation. And a letter from the Retlaw Historical Society thanking us for the support we've given them over the years, but they're not going to take their annual grant this year. They feel they don't need it. Any questions on any of those letters, correspondence? There's nothing. Okay. No questions on anything inside the consent agenda. We would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Tamara, I can give you that motion.
Okay, all in favor? Just go ahead and.
In favor.
In favor.
In favor.
In favor?
Okay, carried. Thank you. We will now move down to memos, Grassy Lake Community Hall sidewalk. Go ahead, Arlos.
Yeah, so this was received from both Councillor Bruin, and I also believe Jason Bullock received it through the Recreation Service Grassy Lake Rec Board as well. So we had put together some just general information with regard to fulfilling this request, if council so desires, as well as a little bit of other information. Both Jason Bullock and Stu Weber assisted in developing that memo. So we can field any questions that council might have.
Anybody have any questions, Brian, at all? Any further explanation on that?
Yeah, I talked to Sarah on this. What they've got is a situation of water puddling up in front of the stairs, which is not only the stairs to the hall, but also the seniors and stuff. They looked into having it built up. It was going to be a $15,000 or $20,000 fee. I tend to agree with it. I think let's deal with the drainage. It's not good having drainage back into a building at any account. So I would tend to agree with the recommendation there. Let's get this sloping away from the building. It'll save us a lot of issues in the future.
So basically, you're lowering the parking lot, is what I'm understanding here?
Yeah, what's happened over the years, Merrill, is gravel's been put in, and it keeps raising up and up. And now I guess the sidewalks are the lowest part. Got to recognize this was put in probably 40, 50 years ago from some farmers that just laid some concrete, and then just over the years it's built up. So the sidewalk's now the lowest spot. There is a drain ditch that's right beside it, so I don't think it would take a whole lot to reshape it properly and get the water moving away from the building rather than towards the building. But they're open either way. I know we did some raising of some sidewalks in Enchant. I'm not sure that's the solution. I still think we want to get the water away from the building.
Okay, so we have a request to help the Grassy Lake Rec Board And by lowering the parking lot to allow the water to drain away from the sidewalk and away from the building. And it looks like a cost of $2,740 is attached to this project. Anybody willing to make a motion one way or the other?
I'd be willing to make that motion, Merrill, as long as it's done when staff has time.
Okay. Any more discussion, comments, questions on that agenda item? Okay, all in favor?
In
In
favor?
favor?
In favor?
In favor.
In favor.
Okay, carried. Thank you very much. So whenever staff has time to do that project. Next is item 8.2, Township Road 9-4 proposed build. And Stu or Arliss?
Yep. So just from an introductory perspective, this was requested to be on the council for discussion today. So administration did prepare a corresponding memo, and we'll do what we can to answer any questions and ultimately let the discussion be had.
Okay, John, you want to bring us up to date on this one? It's a project that was put in the schedule and proposed to be done in 2020. And I'll have anything to add, John, to the discussion here?
I guess the only thing I'd have to add is the question that's raised about road bans when, I guess when this has come up a number of times since I've been on council where we, I guess, improve a road and then it puts some of these storages, whether it's potato storage, grain storage, main farmyards, kind of on an island. And the response that's in the memo is very acceptable. I also asked a question in the shared notes, and I appreciate your input, Stu, on that. To be able to do something with the drainage issue south of 9-4 on 16-5 there. I appreciate that. But it looks like they've got everything covered here in the ratepayers' letter and questions and concerns. It looks like everything's covered as far as I can see anyway. Thank you.
So everyone's okay with continuing on with this project in 2020 and working with the affected landowners in a timely manner to help address their concerns, but everyone's still in favor of carrying on with this project?
I'm sure many people live on that road. Like, is this just one main farmyard, or are there going to be numerous ones on that road that are going to have issues if it is to be a hard surface?
There are a number of farms. There's two main yards on that road. I guess two main yards and a potato storage as well. So that'd be a third. I guess you'd call it a commercial yard. There's three of them on that road.
It's Tamara. So as we see some changes in services, even the one going into King Arthur's, and we have concerns from ratepayers, does it start to lead the MD to look at haul roads and how we're going to manage these? Or, even though that's not a language that we've used in our municipality, is it something we need to consider, or is that already factored in just to how we would grant exemptions?
Stu, do you mind chiming in on that particular question?
So is the haul road designation is something that we haven't used here, at least to my knowledge. I think it is something that we should probably start looking at, especially when we have potato storages and certain feedlots, things like that, that will stay in the same place. Obviously, we can't chase around where potatoes are being seeded or whatever. We can't always have those roads considered a haul road, but definitely should be something we need to start looking at as we go forward.
So currently then the solution is granting waivers to road bans with haul exemptions for what needs to be hauled then. Is that right, Stu?
Yeah, in the short term, that's how we've been managing it. I do agree with, if we're going to make these investments in some of these higher end roads, we should probably look at that type of base work and do that up front so that we know we can support heavier loads as opposed to just doing a normal build and hoping for the best. I'm not really a fan of hoping for the best. I like to put the effort in on the front when we're spending the money. So, but in the meantime, that's the exemption permit thing is how it would be handled. And because that is their only access out and the main access for a lot of people, we would be issuing a lot of permits for this road.
So do haul roads, like in the county to the west of us, are those roads brought up to a non-ban status, or they still have bans on them at certain times of year?
I would have to look into that to be 100% sure, but I believe that they still ban at certain times of the year because they do a lot of their stabilization with the calcium, and the calcium is still very susceptible in other parts of the spring when it's wet and soft. So it doesn't really come to full strength until it dries out a little bit, but it also keeps the moisture in. So I'll have to follow up with that one, Merrill, to give you a solid answer on it, but I do believe they put bans on.
Okay, thanks. Just curious.
Tamara again. So, I mean, for this purpose, we can't be looking at haul roads, but at the end of this, do we need a motion to at least investigate whether that's an option in the MD, just so that, we don't have residents feeling like they're getting boxed in and limiting their operations, and I'm sure it's partly education that we need to do, but I don't think it's going to get less.
I've got a comment on this too. So I think this is where, because agriculture, they don't need permits to build anything. It's just they can put up a storage facility and the MD doesn't know about it. And I wonder if there was a permitting system, like if they build, at least we know about it and we can help determine maybe if there is a better road that we consider be more of a main route, haul route, compared to, a priority 3 or 4 that we're going to have to build up later, kind of like what happened up in Merrill's area last year, that one that we built up there. I wonder if there's a better way of working with these farmers that put these storages up to determine what a good road is. And I know there's limiting factors on land and whatnot, but I'm just wondering if there's a way to work with them too to understand what the best routes are for some of these storage facilities.
It might not hurt to task administration when they have time to bring some proposals on what would be good haul routes and just see where that fits in with the existing infrastructure, that's potato storage or grain yards or whatever. What's anybody else's thoughts?
If council does indeed want to see that come eventually, then yes. To answer Councillor Mianega's question directly, a resolution would be, or a motion would be definitely helpful.
Anybody have any more thoughts on that, on haul roads, different areas in the municipality?
I guess I got one more thought. Say this particular road, for instance, that is in question. If no one on that road wants it to be hard surface, do we as an MD still hard surface it then, or is it we see a benefit for other than just for these residents, or is it farther down that we're trying to get people on this road? I'm just trying to understand why this one was identified for hard surface if there's so many of these larger farms on that route.
That road is quite highly traveled. It brings in a lot of traffic from the south. And because of that, there's a lot of acreages as well in the area. So there's a lot of people that live out that way. And it's got a lot of traffic. I don't know what the numbers are on it. But I know that it does have a lot of traffic.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody willing to give a motion one way or the other on that, or just leave it for now?
The memo, though, would be just to accept for information. Is that correct? And then we would do a separate motion regarding investigation?
Yeah, like
Correct.
the item 8.2 is just an information item. And then if we wanted to have administration look at haul roads, that would be a separate motion.
But it also, John here, but it'd also be a good idea to look into creating something in the policy that when we do upgrade a road to, I guess, a more band status or an upgraded surface, something to, I don't know if you want to grandfather or show that we're going to give exemptions to those producers or those yards so that they understand that they aren't going to be on an island.
My suggestion would be to integrate that. I believe you review that policy on an annual basis. So maybe when we do our annual review, we could look at that particular item at that point in time. And the motion,
that would be good.
the motion could be as simple as referencing it to that point in time.
I guess if I could make that motion now, then just reference it to the policy meeting when we review that policy annually.
And to be specific, are you referring to the road ban policy?
Yes, just reviewing the road ban policy, that's right.
Yeah, so.
I got another
Go ahead, Levitt.
question on this road. So what would I guess this is where would the cost difference, because there's some road surfaces out there that are always, there never is a road ban on it. What is the cost difference, and is it sufficient, like quite a bit different to build it up so it won't ever be banned? Or what is the cost difference between making a road banned surface to a non-banned surface year round?
I can't give you any exact numbers on that, Levitt. It all depends on the quality of material. We'd have to get a consultant in to have a look at it in order to kind of give a hard answer on that.
Okay.
Okay, so going back, John, did you give us a motion for something to just to review the policy? Is that what it was, or what exactly was the motion that you proposed?
Yeah, I proposed a motion to review or to bring up I guess changing or upgrading roads during the road ban policy when we review it next spring or whenever we review it again, which is the fall or the spring. When we do that, to I guess just as a discussion topic to bring this back up again.
Okay. Okay, I think Candace has your motion figured out. Any further discussion?
Because I don't.
What's that?
I said, that's good. I'm glad she figured it out because I couldn't.
Okay. So the motion is just to bring the policy, review this policy annually. Is that what you've got, Candace, roughly?
Use do you want to read? Let's read what we have, just for the sake of clarification.
Well, just read what you've got, and then we can see if that's John's intent.
I have right now to review the road ban policy annually to discuss the inclusion of Hall Road, but I don't know what you want me to finish it as.
No, that's fine. Thanks, Candace.
Thank you.
Okay. So any more discussion, clarification needed on this motion? Hearing none, those in favor?
In favor.
In favor?
In favor.
In favor.
Any opposed? Carried. So that'll be,
So Mayor, this is sorry.
go ahead.
I would just like to make a motion that we request administration to review our roads and to determine if there is a benefit to having haul routes within the MD of Taber at a time that is convenient for administration.
Okay. You've got that? Okay. Any discussion around that proposed motion? The motion was to request administration review our roads to determine if there's a benefit to have haul roads in the municipality and to do it when they have time to do it. Any more discussion on that? Okay, those in favor?
In favor.
Favor.
In favor.
In favor?
Okay, carried. Thank you. Now we'll go down to,
So, Merrill,
Yep.
unless I missed it, and I could have, probably as a matter of just business, we should probably receive the memo as
for information.
For information.
Okay, so we need a motion to accept the Township Road 9-4 proposed build memo for information. Somebody
I
prepare.
can give you that motion.
Okay, John gives a motion. Any further discussion? All in favor?
In
favor.
Merrill's in favor. That's only 3 of us.
In favor. I'm not sure who you have or not.
Okay, we've got enough now. Thank you. Carried. Okay, now we'll go to agenda item 8.3. Taber Shooting Foundation has submitted a list of requested work from the MD. And we'll turn it to Arliss or Stu or...
Yep, so administration did receive the request from the council representative on this board. Or sorry, the Taber Shooting Foundation. Stu and Jason did assist in developing the memo, and we put kind of what the in-kind cost would be to be able to fulfill this request, and it's here for council's consideration, comment, and discussion.
Okay.
I'm just looking.
Okay, just give us a few minutes here. We've lost 3 counselors all of a sudden, so just give us a minute to figure this out.
Might be worthwhile. Let's do a quick recess.
Okay, how about a 5-minute recess while we try and figure out technical problems here?